Good evening, Conroe ISD family. My name is Curtis Null. I'm proud to be your superintendent of schools here in Conroe ISD. Thank you for joining our October 1st, 2024 live YouTube update. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I know many of you are probably joining us a little later, maybe not watching us live. It's such a busy time of year as our kids are involved in so many activities and we're pulled in a million different directions. But whether you're joining us live or you're catching us a little later, we just thank you for taking the time to be a part of this. And if you're new to these YouTube updates, these started back in 2020, and as we were going through COVID, and just an opportunity for us to come together and really talk about what was going on in the school district and give a little more information as to the why and how of that we make decisions. Instead of just simply sending an email and telling you this is what we're doing, we take these opportunities to talk about why. And certainly updates like tonight, where we're just really recapping the first 9 weeks of school and looking ahead to the rest of the school year, are much more enjoyable than those events were back in the 2020 era. So we thank you for joining tonight. No big breaking news or anything of that nature. But if you do happen to be joining us live tonight, know that you can go to our Conroe ISD website, click on the Contact Us spot on the website, and you can submit your questions live. We'll try to work through live questions throughout the event tonight. And then maybe at the very end go through and wrap up any that we have missed. So if you'd like to submit questions, you're welcome to do that, and we'll do our very best. So today's topics, just to kind of catch you up on exactly what we're going to do, we're going to talk about just the start of school and give some basic facts of the school year. We're also going to hit some highlights from the transportation department. We'll meet our transportation director. We'll also hit some safety highlights with our Chief of Police, Matt Blakelock. So it'll be great to have a couple of guests with us today. You get to meet some fine men, and I know that Chief has joined me in the past, but we're just fortunate to have our great Conroe ISD Police Department. So any opportunity we have for him to be a part of this and part of our greater community, we're always happy to have him join us. Just to share with you a little bit about the first 9 weeks for me personally, it's been wonderful. I think I'm so proud of the work of all of our Conroe ISD team to have our school year get off to a great start. From transportation, child nutrition, our custodial and maintenance team that had to work through the hurricane to make sure that our schools were prepared, and planning and construction to finish construction projects that were delayed due to the hurricane. Everybody pulled together to make sure that we could start our school year. And in many cases, it was an added burden on our teachers to be rushed, and yet they made it happen, as they always do. Just amazing group of people, and everybody that's on campus was really ready on that first day of school to support our kids and to welcome you. And my personal highlight of the first 9 weeks, I would say, has to be our Read for a Better Life program. So that's a program where we take a day and invite everybody from the community in to read books to kids, and I get that same opportunity to travel to many, many schools and read books. And I just met some of the greatest kids that were really inspiring, and their teachers and the librarians, all the folks on campuses. You could feel the joy in the buildings. You could feel the love of reading and the love of books, and it really just made my day. And actually, I extended it out kind of the whole week, which made it even better. So absolutely, that was been the highlight of my first 9 weeks. Another thing that I really enjoy is just any opportunity I have to see our kids living in their passion. So we had a district art show here in the administration building. We have beautiful artwork in this building from such talented artists across the school district. And to come here and to meet those artists on a Saturday and let them tell me about their pieces, and that I get to enjoy every day as decoration in my office and in this building, but to meet those artists and to meet their parents, also an absolute highlight. And then every Friday night or Thursday night, we get this opportunity to see kids doing what they love. A football game is more than a football game. It's a community event, right? We have the football team playing, certainly, but the band is out there, and the drill team, and the cheerleaders, and the student athletic trainers, and the JROTC, and the student council. There's so many groups of kids that come to be a part of those football games that you really get a sense of community, and you can see kids doing what they love, and the parents are there to support them and cheer them on, and the community as a whole. that's really inspiring. And I know that it's still hot. I know we're in October, but I'm not sure if it's going to get cooler anytime soon from the recent forecast I looked at. And so some of you may be thinking, I'd love to support the kids, but it's still a little warm. Maybe I want to bring my little one out to experience what the future of high school life will be, but it's still a little warm. And I want to remind you that we broadcast all of those games on YouTube. It's live and it's free. So right here from our Conroe ISD YouTube channel, you can go and see our Conroe ISD athletics. You see Moorhead Stadium and Wood Forest Stadium, and you can see any and all those games. And I want to make one more introduction tonight of the man that's kind of behind the scenes of all these YouTube's lives. And he's also the guy that makes all of those football games happen on YouTube. And he takes all the great pictures of our kids. So I'm going to ask Andrew to come in here. I just told him at the very last minute that I was going to make him come tonight. So this is Andrew Stewart. What a wonderful man he is. You'll see Andrew down at the football games with your giant camera lens.
Yes, sir.
But when you see great pictures of our kids on websites doing fantastic work, Andrew's the guy that takes those pictures. He helps us produce all of these things as well. I know you also do some work with the CTE programs to help kids be involved. You want to just tell us a little bit about that?
And yeah, we have several interns from each high school, and they take photos, and we also have interns from the video production programs, and a lot of them have graduated and now work for us to put on the productions of the YouTube games.
Yeah, so not only do we see students performing, but it's behind the camera, and in the production room we have students as well. And we're fortunate to have Andrew here, so thank you. I told you, I told him right before we started, hey, I'm gonna ask you to get on camera tonight. I'll probably have to pay for that maybe later, but I do appreciate Andrew and all the work that he does to help us make everything happen. We also have just one other event I want to remind you of. I know you saw the graphic. If you saw the beginning of this, was our Cars and Coffee event that is upcoming. It'll be down at Wood Forest Bank Stadium. It's a really fun event. It's free. Once again, it's family entertainment. We'll have community members there bringing their cars out. Last year, I believe we had about 400 cars, so it's a really neat event to walk through. But even beyond that, we have fire trucks and ambulances. We had a SWAT truck last year. We have a school bus, and the kids can climb through and see all of those things. And I say kids, even us bigger kids sometimes like to climb through the SWAT trucks and see all of that as well. We'll have a Conroe ISD police car there. It's just a great time. There's not a lot of things that we can do anymore that are free, right? And with our kids, and this is a really neat opportunity to know that you're going somewhere where it's family friendly, and the community comes together. It's a really fun event. Another great example: this event is run by Conroe ISD students. The Woodlands Auto Enthusiast Club actually are the students that run this event. So when you come out to the event and you're getting assists with where to park and where to go, those are going to be Conroe ISD students helping you do that. So everything is better when our kids are involved in helping to make it happen. So please come out and see us at that event. So we're going to jump in now just to a basic presentation that I give when I go out and speak about our school district across the community. And it's just an update of kind of where we are and who we are, but we're going to add in our special guests along the way as well, so it's not just too much of me talking with you tonight. So Andrew will help us by pulling up our slides here. And first of all, the world is right now because school has started, and our children are back in our buildings. And what you see here is Janet K. Bartlett Elementary. This is our newest elementary, open to this school year. It is up in the Conroe High School / Caney Creek High School feeder zone, soon to be Timber Mill High School. We'll be more about that as we get in a little later this evening. But you can see here the first day of school. The lower left picture is actually Miss Janet Bartlett, and she was there the first day to welcome kids, and she was a longtime teacher here in Conroe ISD, and we're proud that we have a school named after her. And for us in the school district, when we name a school after a teacher, it's special. They are the heart and soul of what we do every day, and so to have a school named after a teacher, Miss Bartlett will be the first one to tell you, it has her name on it, but it's named for all teachers, and so we're really proud of that. And many of us work throughout the summer to plan for the school year, and we didn't necessarily become teachers because we wanted to be in meetings with adults all day long and never see children, but that's what we do all summer. So when that first day of school actually gets here and the kids are back in the buildings, everything feels right for us. And so we're so happy to have your kids back and be underway now in our school year. All right, we talk about our school district, and we are a growing place. We will approach 74,000 students this year. We grow throughout the school year. Today we are right at about 73,000, and so we will continue to grow, working our way up to 74,000 throughout the school year. We're currently the 9th largest school district in the state of Texas. This year, at some point, we will likely move up to the 7th spot. We will be passing Fort Worth ISD and Austin ISD to move into the 7th largest school district in the state. We now have 71 campuses with the opening of Bartlett, and we're 348 square miles. So if you look at that top picture there, you can see that we are the bright blue area, and the rest of the county is in the darker blue. There are 5 other school districts that make up the rest of Montgomery County. You have New Caney, Splendora, Willis, Magnolia, and Montgomery. If you add up the student populations of all of those other 5 school districts, they are still about 12,000 students smaller than we are in Conroe ISD. So we are a very big place when you look at the number of students that we serve. But additionally, we are a very big school district in size. 348 square miles in Conroe ISD makes us the largest school district in the Houston area by square miles. Now that creates its very own challenges for us in Conroe ISD. As you know, we're very spread out, and we have I-45 that runs right through the middle of Conroe ISD, and if you ever travel that in the mornings or in the afternoons, you know that sometimes it can cause a traffic problem, in addition to all the other places that we have big time traffic backups in Conroe ISD. So we have those challenges of being big and spread out. And with that, we have a transportation department that does the very best that they can do to help our students get to school on time and safely, and they do an amazing job. Here's just a few facts for you about our transportation department. 631 buses, 390 daily routes, over 2,200 daily runs, 36,000 kids riding our buses each and every day. That is amazing. I know I think back to my time. Now my kids are moved on, and I'm an empty nester, but I think back when my kids were little, just getting 2 kids dressed and ready in the morning and into the Explorer to go to school or to go to a restaurant or do anything was hard enough. But Mr. Melendez, this is Juan Melendez. He is the man who makes it all happen for us as our Director of Transportation. How in the world do we get 36,000 kids from home to school and school to home each and every day? How does this happen?
We have great people. We have great people, dedicated people. I tell my team all the time, they're the hardest working team in Conroe ISD. So without our drivers, our monitors, our staff, I mean, we couldn't get the kids to and from school every day safely and efficiently. So they do a great job. We're only as good as the people that we have in our department.
And it's a hard job. You know, we talk about just thinking about getting your kids loaded up, but I've spent time in traffic where I was frustrated and felt like I had all I could handle, and I was riding in the truck by myself.
Yes, sir.
I didn't have 60 kids behind me, but that's reality for a bus driver.
Correct. It's tough. You know, it's tough. As a former teacher and coach, you know, I was used to managing kids in the classroom. It becomes a little bit different when the classroom is behind you, and you know you're driving a big 40-foot vehicle and having to tend to them and tend to the traffic and all the hazards that you encounter on the road. So it's a tough job, but our people do a wonderful job.
They do. They are amazing. And one of the things that I always appreciate about bus drivers, especially, is they're the first kids. They're the first adult that our kids see in the morning, related to Conroe ISD, and the last ones they see when they're leaving. And that they play such a key role into making sure that our kids are ready to learn when they get to school?
Absolutely. I tell our people, we're the sandwich of
Yes.
education. We're one side of the slice of the sandwich, and then at the beginning, and then we're the other side at the end. And we actually have an opportunity to set the tone for the day. If a kid might have left the house and they're already having a bad day or whatever, we have an opportunity to make their day a good day and get them on that positive feel for when they get to school. And then at the end of the day, let's say a kid had a bad day, then we can turn around and if you have a relationship with that kid, you can make a kid's day that much better and encourage them to come
Right.
back the next day.
And it's a difficult job for all those reasons, and because of that, we have to be selective in who we hire.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it
Yes,
takes
sir.
a special person to do that.
Absolutely.
And we know we've talked about it here on YouTube a lot. We've had a bus driver shortage, not just us in Conroe ISD. It's a nationwide issue.
Correct.
Bus
Correct.
driver shortage. But we can't lower our standards,
Absolutely.
right? And we won't.
Yes, sir.
We're going to hire only the very best
Yes, sir.
to do that. But we're always trying to hire folks.
Absolutely.
And now sometimes when we're short, I think one of the things that I admire most about your department is tell us what happens when we're short drivers. Who fills the gap?
Yes, sir. So typically we have a set of sub-drivers. We call them standby drivers. So they're the first ones that'll fill any open route or any absence that we might have. After that, it starts trickling to our office staff, our operations specialists, our trainers. Then it can permeate to our routing department. It can go to our payroll department. It can go to our field trip department. And sometimes it makes our way to our supervisors, our shop personnel. And then at times it becomes the assistant directors, the managers, and sometimes even me.
I was going to say sometimes it's even the director, because there have been times in the afternoon that I've wanted to call Mr. Melendez for a question only to find out that he is driving a route.
Yes, sir.
And
Correct.
it's whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's
Absolutely.
the mentality of the department,
Yes,
whatever it takes. And you mentioned that it was a great way just to hear all the different people that it takes
Yes, sir.
to run a school district transportation department. The mechanics are critical.
Absolutely.
And if we're never going to get cooler weather, just trying to keep the air conditioners running
Correct.
is
It's
a challenge,
full-time
right?
job, and I will tell you, our mechanics are outstanding. A lot of them come in on the weekends just to make sure that we can get our buses back, up and running, and then with working air conditioning. So they work a lot, and it's a good, hard-working team, and they're dedicated to what they do.
And we've reached a point now where we have air-conditioned buses
Correct.
throughout the fleet or
Correct.
throughout the daily routes,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And now air conditioning in a bus is not like air conditioning in
No,
your
sir.
F-150,
No,
right?
sir.
It's
No,
a little
sir.
different.
No, sir. Yes,
What's the reality of an air condition in a giant metal box if it's 100 degrees outside?
So if it's 100 degrees outside, the best you could probably hope for in a school bus is probably going to be 80 degrees.
Okay.
Of course, that is if all the windows are closed. That's if you're not opening the door to let kids on and off the school bus. So yeah, that 80 degrees can quickly climb up to 85 and
Yeah.
sometimes 90, just depending on how hot it is and how much we're stopping the bus and like I said, opening and closing the door.
Right.
And how many kids are on there too? 'Cause you
Right.
have to
Yeah,
add
yeah. The
additional
bodies.
body heat. Yes, sir.
Indeed,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Yes,
So
sir.
it is amazing to me though that just the way that our buses travel, and I see them, and there was an afternoon. It was a few weeks ago. I was headed to an event down in the Woodlands after work, and it was 5 o'clock, and 45 was stopped. And
It happens a lot.
It happens a lot,
Happens a
or
lot.
too much, right?
Yes, sir.
But and I just saw we had a bunch of buses that were just stuck.
Stuck,
You know, and it's like we don't have special lanes.
Correct.
We don't have any special access.
No.
So when 45 stops or 242 stops or you name it stops, we're in the same
Correct.
boat, right?
Same boat. Yes, sir. We don't have any special privileges as a bus department. I tell parents sometimes, the same traffic that you guys encounter, we encounter too.
Right.
And I wish that maybe they'll come up with hover buses someday,
Right.
where we can hover over the traffic and get to where we need to go. But we do suffer from the same traffic that everybody else does, and our area is growing.
Yeah.
It's growing leaps and bounds, and every year it gets tougher and tougher because of the traffic and because of the changing traffic patterns that we encounter.
Right. And I know that, we do our best to run an efficient model, right? We have computers that do all the
Correct.
routing,
Correct.
right?
Yes, sir.
But then, we assume everybody's going to ride the bus on the first day of school,
Correct.
and then we find out maybe some people aren't going to ride. So we're constantly tweaking routes. Is that
Constantly
correct?
tweaking and adjusting. I mean, that's a weekly thing, daily thing that we're looking to make sure that everything that we route is as efficient as possible. But like you said, I mean, it just changes all the time. We get new students in, we get new students out. So anytime that we add a student to a bus, it could potentially change a route. So we're constantly having to readjust and revisit all of our routes.
And the challenge with that is when you make an adjustment for efficiency, you might make a shorter ride for 80% of the kids, but then it might increase the ride for 20%.
20%.
And if you're a parent on the 80% side, that feels good. If you're a parent on the 20% side where you feel like you kind of got the short end, it doesn't feel as good.
It doesn't feel as good.
There's no favorites being played.
Absolutely.
There's always trying to find what is the most efficient route. And we run a 3-tier system, which is different than a lot of places, but can you explain what that means when you say a 3-tier bus system?
So 3-tier system is basically we pick up the high school students first in the morning, we take them to school, and then we turn around and go pick up the elementary kids, and then we take them to school, and then finally we go and pick up the junior high intermediate kids, and then we take them to school. So that's a 3-tier system. We do that both in the AM, and then we also do it in the PM.
And so one of the negatives of you run a 3-tier system for efficiency, right, and financial efficiency. Well, I'll talk about the budget a little later, but to change that, we would need a lot more buses and a lot more drivers to go even to just a 2-tier system.
Yes, sir.
But one of the negatives of the 3-tier system is if anything goes wrong on the first tier or the second tier, the third tier is the one that feels it. And as a former junior high principal at one point in my career, that's a 3rd-tier school. You feel that. When the buses run late. It just takes maybe one elementary student
that they have to take back to campus,
to get lost, or a parent not there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden that bus is now late.
Correct.
And what we know in our community is the traffic window is so small.
So small.
If that 3rd tier starts to run later, it can balloon.
Balloon, yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions here that came in with transportation, so I'm going to try to address those. The first question, or there's a couple of questions on here regarding students that live 1 to 2 miles from campus. So we currently pick up students a mile and out, right?
Yes, sir.
And so that's a choice that our board has made to provide that as a service. It's an option. If our board ever wanted to move that to a 2-mile radius, they could do that. That's a board decision. Wouldn't be my decision or Mr. Melendez's decision. That'd be a board decision. Now, one of the things is even if we went to 2 miles, we never have our children walk in an unsafe area. So even if we went 2 miles, there'd be a lot of exclusions. So it may not really gain the efficiency, and we've studied that to look at it.
Correct.
We wouldn't really gain the efficiencies that maybe we would assume that we would.
Yes, sir.
So that's one of the things, and then it just creates for a lot of folks that inconvenience. And one of the things that we see in transportation is to gain convenience for one person is often to, as we just talked about, is to inconvenience more another.
Yes, sir.
Right? So the idea of eliminating buses from 1 mile to 2 mile so that we can be more efficient on the other routes is a true statement, but those people that live 1 to 2 miles would be really hit hard. And so once again, that's a board decision. It could be potentially financially driven, as we've seen in other districts around us, but it also could be driven just by availability of bus drivers.
And then additionally, I mean, we transport a lot of kids within that 1 to 2 mile. So you have to understand, if we're not transporting those kids anymore, how are they getting to school? And what's it going to do to the traffic around
our buses may become even less efficient because now the traffic around a school comes to a standstill because we have more car riders. And so there's a delicate balance about the number of kids on the buses versus car riders that come through. So yeah, there's a couple of questions about that. How do we monitor our buses as far as like their speed and those type of things?
So most of our buses have, all of our buses have governors. Typically, the governors are set to 50 miles per hour. A bus can't go over that particular speed limit. But just like with anything else, it's run by a computer, and at any given point in time, it could malfunction. We have found some of our buses that could possibly go over that. But if you ever encounter any buses that are going over the set speed limit, specifically over 50 miles an hour, or if they're breaking any type of traffic laws, please feel free to reach out to any of our transportation centers. You can reach the main line at 936-709-7490, or you can fill out a transportation contact form on our website and just give us all the gory details.
Yeah.
You know, what the bus was, even if you have a description of the driver.
Right.
You know, how fast they were going, where they were at the time, and we'll definitely get that addressed.
And can you go in and see how fast the bus was going?
Yes, sir. So with our smart tag system, we are able to go and follow the pattern basically that the driver was driving, and then it basically based on the GPS location, it'll give us a set, you know, specific points of how fast the bus was going at that particular time.
Yeah. So, and we'll show you the website here in just a moment, so that you'll know exactly where to go. And we want that information.
Absolutely.
We want our bus drivers to be safe, and I think they do an amazing
Correct.
job. It doesn't mean that we don't have people make mistakes
Correct.
on occasion,
Correct.
and we need to address that. So how are we making our routes more efficient? We just talked about that third tier, and we know that they run later.
Correct.
And I know one of the changes we made, which was also a question that came in, was why is my high school kid being picked up earlier now? Well, why was that changed, and how does it relate to the other question about the third tier?
Correct. So the thinking behind moving up the drop-off time for high school students, and we didn't do it for all buses. We only did it for a select few where we found that we would gain some time at the second and third tier. So we got with the high schools, and they gave us permission to drop off a set of them because they can't take them all in.
Right.
So we focused on a specific amount of buses, and you know, we're arriving at the campus at 6:30. The campus is taking them in, and what that allows us to do is get to the second and third tiers a lot faster, where we're able to pick up those kids and drop them off at school at their appropriate time, so they're not missing any instructional time. So it was able to alleviate that, but of course we couldn't do that for all the buses, because again, the high schools can't take all those kids.
Right, and it's a give and take, right?
Correct.
Back to what we talked about before, it's a give and take. It's a little less convenient for the high school kids, but it's helping on the third tier to be more on time, because we have third tier kids that if they're late in the morning, they're missing school,
yes,
right? And
yes,
we know that's not something that's acceptable to us.
Correct.
So it's a constant battle of how do we find a way that can fix that.
Correct.
And that's our goal. So, all right, I think we hit most of the questions. Maybe we want to show the website here, the transportation website. And there's a couple of things on here, I guess, that you want to show.
Yes, sir.
The smart tag system being one of those. Uh-oh, here we go. There we go.
So yes, sir. And we're highly encouraging parents to make sure that if your kids are riding the bus, that they're using their smart tag badges, to make sure that they have it every day before they get on the bus, so they can scan on and off the bus. And then by using the smart tag badge, you're able to see what time your kids scanned on the bus, what time they scanned off the bus, both when they're getting on to go to school, when they're getting off at school, and then the same thing in the PM. In order to get these notifications, though, you have to sign up for the parent app, which is on our website.
So we're on Conroe ISD, the main website, and then you go into transportation.
And then you click on the smart tag parent app, and then it'll give you step-by-step instructions, and they're both in English and in Spanish. So all you do is click on the link there, and it'll give you the instructions on how to download the app to your phone. And it's a pretty simple setup.
So smart tag also, if folks have their badge, then they will. It's faster.
Correct.
We can load faster.
We can load faster,
which gets us out faster,
correct.
which keeps the next.
Which
so that helps.
Yes,
but then for a parent, smart tag will tell them what if they sign up for the app. What will it tell them?
So it'll tell you when your kid when they scanned onto the bus and when they scanned off at the bus. Like I said, both when we're picking them up and we're dropping them off at school, and the same thing when we're picking them up at the campus and then dropping them off at the house. But also too, what it'll give you a notification of how far away the bus is from your house,
so that you're not sending out there. If we are running a little late, you're not sitting out waiting.
Correct. And then we're able to send notifications to parents if the bus was running behind schedule for a specific reason. Maybe there I hate to say it, but in a minor collision, or if there was a situation at the campus that the bus is running behind late, we're able to send notifications to the parents and let them know that the bus is running 30-40 minutes behind schedule.
Right.
So it's basically to keep the parents informed.
Sure. I think maybe you mentioned it there, but one of the the most astonishing facts for me is the daily text that I get that someone in the community has run into one of our buses. They're giant yellow buses, and yet almost daily. Now the great news for us is buses are
like
so
tanks.
safe, you know. So it's very rare for us to have any type of kids, and most of them are minor, super slow things. But it just amazes me. It's like they're big yellow buses.
Yellow. You'd be amazed.
So just remind everybody, let's be safe around our buses. I know we're all trying to be in a hurry and get where we're trying to be, but to be safe around our buses. Anything else you would add about our transportation department, Mr. Melendez?
Like I said, we have a hard-working, dedicated group, but we're always looking for new personnel. If you like kids, and that's how you were talking about that, you got to have some special qualifications. You got to like kids,
That's it.
and you got to like to drive. If you like kids and you like to drive, please feel free to go to our website, fill out an application. We're hiring bus drivers, we're hiring bus monitors, we're hiring technicians. We are in need of diesel technicians. We have a couple positions that are open. We're hiring office personnel, so anything that you would want to do within the transportation department, we are hiring. Feel free to sign up on our website. And also, too, we're having a bus driver hiring event. That's on Wednesday, October 16th at 9:30 at the Oak Ridge Transportation Center. And we start our drivers at $19.50. Okay. And hey, and if you're looking for a job and want to work around just good, friendly people that are hardworking and dedicated to what they do, Conroe Transportation is a place to be.
Yeah, I can't say enough how much I appreciate the work of Mr. Melendez and the whole team. Everybody, all of our departments are this way, but that attitude of whatever it takes.
Yes.
We will do, and that's you guys live that every day.
Yes,
your jobs are incredibly hard. There's not a lot of emails that come in to tell us when everybody got to school on time.
No.
When we understand that when we're late, we're going to hear that, and that's
Absolutely.
okay. We can understand that, but we're always trying to get better.
Yes, sir.
And I think just the more that we can tell you guys that we appreciate you is important for all of us in the community to share that, right? Because when we create that environment as a community where we can show appreciation for our bus drivers, that does nothing but help us when we want to recruit more bus drivers, right?
Yes,
And that's what we want to do.
Absolutely.
We want to keep adding
Yes,
more
sir.
bus drivers so we can continue to become more efficient.
Yes, sir.
So, well,
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Yes,
We
sir.
appreciate you
Appreciate
joining
your
us.
time.
Thanks
Yes, sir.
for all that you
Yes, sir.
do and the work. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, what a wonderful team. I mean, I really, and if you've ever had an issue, and you may have, people do, right? We have challenges each and every day. Mr. Melendez is wonderful about responding back and getting the appropriate people to respond and answer questions in a timely manner. So, we just appreciate, once again, everybody in the transportation department and all the work that they do. So let's jump back into our presentation now. We'll kind of keep rolling through a few more slides here before we bring in our next guest. And just a reminder, we're not only big with the number of students that we have, but we're also the largest employer in Montgomery County. Over 10,000 employees now. We are the largest employer. Really, I think we're over 3 times larger than even the second largest employer in the county, which is Memorial Hermann, I believe. So we are truly an economic driver, just as we are, the place that educates all of our children, or the majority of the children throughout the county. So, and when you count our subs, who we love dearly, and they're so important to us functioning and being able to be successful, over 12,000 employees here in Conroe ISD. I want to thank each and every one of them for the work that they do. To work here, people work in the school system because they love kids, and our campus staff gets the opportunity to work directly with kids every day. But there are a lot of other departments here that do amazing work because they also love kids, be it in our business office or maintenance and custodial, human resources, wherever it may be. Any department, for the most part, folks could go work somewhere else and probably make more money. They appreciate the fact that they work here because they're making a difference. And once again, regardless of department. So I want to thank all of our employees for the work that they do, and thanks for kind of hanging in there with us and making it happen here. So we certainly appreciate you. And then as we continue with our presentation, we see our great board of trustees. These are volunteers that help lead our district. They're not employees. So sometimes I know that people will call up here and say, "Oh, I want to talk to somebody." These folks don't work here. They're not counted as employees. They are volunteers, unpaid volunteers, who just help to come in and set the policy of the school district and help to guide what we do. They are elected officials, and we do have an election. 4 seats will be included in the November election. So it's just a good time here now just to remind you to vote and to remind you to check your voter registration. I know a lot of us, you might have moved somewhere along the way throughout the last couple of years. It's a good time just to check and make sure you're up to date. And once again, go out and vote. We've really talked a lot internally in the district about helping to create that culture. It's a wonderful gift that we have in our nation to let our voice be heard, and we want to just make sure we take advantage of that. So make sure to register to vote. The deadline is coming up very quickly, so the time is now to check on that as we approach our November election. This is our district leadership, and I want to give you an opportunity here to put a face with a name. And these may be folks that if you have sent an email up here, maybe to ask a question or had a concern that needed to be addressed, these are probably the people that have responded to you, and you've seen their emails, and you might even talk to them on the phone. But here are their faces, and I want to tell you that I'm really proud of this team, and this team is unique. And what makes this team unique is how much they care for and love this school district and this community. In many large school districts, you have senior leadership that sort of comes and goes, and they're not necessarily as invested in the community. It's a job for them. For that team that you see there, it's personal for this team. And the main reason that it's personal is because the average years of experience, not in education, but the average years of experience just in Conroe ISD for that team is 24 years in Conroe ISD. I'm going to ask Andrew to put their faces back up one more time just so you could see them. 24 years in Conroe ISD. Guys, it's really personal for our team here. I have 22 years in Conroe ISD, so I'm bringing the average down when you look at this chart. And I think our newest member, who's still the newbie on the team, has 14 years here in Conroe ISD. So it's quite an amazing group. For all of us on the chart, we have raised our families here. Our children have gone to school in Conroe ISD. Some still have children in school. Some, like myself, our children have graduated and gone on to the next phases in life. But for all of us, it's very personal, and I think that's what makes us special. We talk about the Conroe ISD family. It starts right there with that leadership team, and it truly is family. Those are folks that I've known for 20 years, and they love and care for this place, and will do all that they have to do to make sure that we're successful. And the way we judge our success is our students being successful. So if your kids are successful, then we're successful. But there's a lot of other awards too that we get that help us know that we're doing well. And this is a list of awards, and I'm not going to read them all. We've been on a very nice run with Forbes being named as one of the best large employers, a best in-state employer in Texas, and a best place for women to work. And on all 3 of those lists, including 2 of those being national lists, we were the #1 school district ranked in the entire list. So really proud of that. Niche.com in 2024 ranked us as the best school district, the most diverse school district, the best place to teach, and the best school district for student athletes here in Texas. And then down at the bottom, you see our transparency stars. The state comptroller's office issues transparency stars. That's the way that they certify to the community that we are doing things the right way, that we're upfront, we're sharing all the information that we should share. The most transparency stars that a school district could earn is 4. We are the only school district out of 1,200 school districts in the state of Texas to have all 4 transparency stars. And there are only a handful of school districts that actually have even 3 transparency stars. So to be the only one that has all of the transparency stars is something that we are very, very proud of. And I have a little bit of breaking news tonight, as we just found out this information yesterday. But Andrew, can you show us our new 2025 niche rankings are out, and we defended our turf on all of those awards. So once again, we have been named the 2025 niche.com Best School District in Montgomery County, Best Place to Teach in Montgomery County, Most Diverse School District in Montgomery County, and the Best School District for Student Athletes. So we're really proud of that. Congratulations to you all. Those are community awards. You know, I think that everyone that lives in Conroe ISD should celebrate all of those awards with us, because we need to create an environment where the very best teachers want to come to work. That is the way of having a successful school district. You have the very best teachers, and we are on a run of just constantly winning these awards because we have the very best teachers. And how are we going to keep them here and have them want to be here? That takes all of us in the community to make that happen. So thank you and congratulations to you all for those awards. All right, continuing on, I want to talk a little bit about safety. Safety is absolutely our number one priority here in the school district. You know, we work very hard to make sure that, you know, our kids are safe every day, and we are fortunate to have our own police department here in Conroe ISD. You know, sometimes being a big school district creates its own challenges, but in other times it has a great benefit. And so we have our own police department here in Conroe ISD, and I'm proud to be joined right now by our Chief of Police, Matt Blakelock. Chief, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely, Dr. Knoll. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. And those of you that have watched us before, you've met Chief Blakelock before, but maybe you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and the police department in general.
Absolutely. I'm in my third year as police chief for Conroe ISD. Prior to that, I've spent 23 years as a Conroe ISD police officer, filling various ranks and positions and assignments. I am married to my wife, Sarah, who is also a district employee, and we have a 4-year-old son, Beckett, who is going to be attending schools in Conroe ISD next year. So we're very excited about that.
Future kindergartner.
Absolutely.
Incoming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about our police department in general. How many officers?
So if you would have asked me that question a year ago about this time, I would have said we have 75 officers.
Okay.
I'm happy to say that right now we have 89 police officers in Conroe ISD.
Right, which makes us the third largest police department in the entire county, correct?
We are the third largest law enforcement agency in Montgomery County.
Yeah. So, and you know, beyond just police officers, your team is more than that, right? So who else kind of works with the police department? What other positions are in your team?
So we have a variety of positions. We have a 911 dispatch center.
Okay.
So we have several dispatchers that work 24/7. Answering emergency calls, sending officers where they need to go, helping other departments of the district. Then we have 26 prevention control monitors.
Okay.
Prevention control monitors are the folks that you see out there working really hard in the light blue shirts, cruising around in golf carts, and they're the eyes and ears for the police department and for the district. They drive around to make sure that our campuses are safe, that our parking lots are secure, that any visitors that arrive that might need some help getting where they need to go, they help them, and then they check doors all day. And they do this at all of our high schools and some of our junior highs, and they spend their day doing that. We also have 108 crossing guards.
Yeah.
All throughout Conroe ISD, our crossing guards are there to help our elementary all the way up, all of our kids get to and from school safely. Yeah,
and they're critical into making that happen. And then you talk about those prevention control officers. They're also culture builders on campuses. They seem to be some of the most popular people in a building. In addition to police officers, they're the most popular. But we have 2 special police officers that are probably the most popular in your entire department. That'd be the canine units. You want to maybe tell us about those?
Absolutely. They are by far the most popular. Anytime
Yes.
an officer shows up with one of our canines, nobody wants to see the person. They want to see the dog. So we have 2 narcotic sniffing canines, and we have 1 explosive sniffing canine. And they work throughout the district at all of our campuses on a daily basis, running regular checks of our schools to ensure that things that don't need to be brought to school don't get brought to school.
Yeah.
And then they also are first responders. When we do have a crisis, we do have a concern, they're one of the first to go to help us.
Yeah, and that's really important, you know. And I think it takes a special person. I say this often to our police department when I speak to them. I respect all police officers. Anybody that is willing to put themselves in danger to protect us as citizens, it takes a special mentality, a special person. But I look at our school police officers at even a different level, because it's a challenge to work with children and have that responsibility while also maintaining the level of being prepared for any challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about the special training that
Certainly.
your officers receive?
So our police officers have to go through all of the basic police training, the police academy, all the regular training that you would expect a police officer to have. Now, there's many police departments out there, sheriff's departments and other agencies that have specialized training that we may not do.
Right.
But we are a specialized police department in that we work with kids every day. And our officers have to know the regular police things to be able to protect the kids and the staff and the visitors on the campuses. But then we're also going to interact with those kids every single day. And it takes a special type of person to want to do that. And then there's a lot of requirements that come with it. So not only do we have to do all of that other police training, but we also have to do a lot of school-based law enforcement training. Our officers have to be well-versed in de-escalation skills, in crisis intervention, all of our officers are mental health peace officers, so that we're able to interact the very best way with our kids every single day that we're able to.
Yeah, we can't have a bad day when we're working with kids, from the educator side or the CISD police side,
Certainly.
right? I mean, kids are going to have bad days. That's a reality. And how we respond in those situations, and I think that's what really makes you guys special, because and it doesn't just happen on the bad day, because it's the relationships that are built in our schools by the police officers
Absolutely.
every day that makes that difference. Because I see them every day mentoring and just being an example and building relationships
Dr.
with
Miller,
kids.
often you'll see the officers giving safety presentations, walking down the hall, high-fiving the kids. Kids don't know that the officer's checking the doors to make sure that they're secure. That's officer friendly, and they're there to be their friend. And we are often the first exposure that our kids have to law enforcement, and we want to set the very best example so that any future interactions with law enforcement are a positive thing.
And you do it wonderfully. And as you said, you guys are fully certified peace officers. And
Absolutely.
just public service announcement, yes, they can write you a ticket. So don't don't speed past the Conroe ISD police car, because they can write you a ticket. But it's all those things that you do to be prepared daily to deal with the school you do. But there's also a reality of being prepared for worst case scenarios. And can you talk a little bit about that level of training that you all go through, and maybe how that interacts with other agencies in our area?
Absolutely. Our officers have to be able to interact in a positive, friendly manner, but then we also have to be prepared for a worst case scenario that we hope that we never face. So our officers undergo an immense amount of active shooter training. It's all through ALERT, the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training. We have several instructors, and we teach our own officers, and we teach other agencies as well. Our officers will go through active shooter training every single year. They will go through advanced medical training to be able to provide medical care should someone need it. We train in what would happen if we have an active shooter inside of a school, what would happen if we had one at a large venue, such as a stadium or something like that. And then we train our officers, and with other law enforcement, fire and EMS, how to integrate that response. Because if we ever had an emergency that large, it's going to take all of us.
Yeah.
And we recognize that, and we want our partners there. And so in order to do that, you have to have a basis. You have to know how to train together so that you know how to respond together.
Yeah, you can't, your first conversation can't be when
When it's happening.
when it's going down. So, I think we are fortunate here in our community to have so many different agencies that I know I have complete confidence in, and you do too, that at a moment's notice, if we needed more assistance, we could call and they would be there. From the sheriff's office to the city departments that are around, the constable's offices, the Texas DPS. I
Absolutely.
mean, they will be here in a moment's notice. And I know we've seen examples where we've maybe we've put out that call to say, hey, it'd be nice to have some help, and it's the response is amazing.
And we see them all over
Yeah.
our campuses. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're really proud of that. And one of the other partnerships, which is one of our newer ones, and as we're going to transition, talk a little bit about maybe these last 3 or 4 weeks and some of the threats that we've had to deal with, and really more rumors of threats than threats.
Absolutely.
But is our partnership with the FBI, and maybe share that with the community a little bit.
Absolutely. We're super happy to be involved in a threat mitigation task force. Last year, we were approached by the FBI, and they said, "Hey, we want to start this program. We want to get all of the local agencies that we can involved, especially school district police, since we tend to suffer a lot of these threats and things when they come through." And we happily joined. I've got 5 members that have joined. They're actually deputized U.S. Marshals, and being part of this program then allows access, immediate access, to our FBI partners and our other law enforcement agency partners throughout the country. And so and it's specifically designed to address threats to schools, businesses, and other venues. So whenever we get information, and you know as well as I do, often threats travel through social media across the country, and they end up on our porch, and when people see it, they own it, and then they get scared. It allows us to be able to automatically make one phone call to our partners, and we got people on it. They're searching where this came from, whether it's been investigated, what our next steps are, identifying the person who may be involved, and we've got that partnership. And in the last few weeks, several of the rumored threats that we were dealing with, they were already investigated. So when we made the call, we were able to match that it was exactly what we were seeing, and we knew then that it was not a threat for us.
Yeah, what a huge advantage that is for us. And that's a new partnership for us,
It is new.
newer. But over these last 3 weeks, it's been invaluable.
It's been
It has helped
invaluable.
us to be in front of a lot of the things. So let's talk a little bit about these last few weeks, right? Unfortunately, one of the things that we know is when there is a tragedy somewhere in our nation, a school shooting somewhere in our nation, it creates a lot of angst in people, and it creates a narrative that we know we're going to see a spike in threats or rumored threats.
Absolutely.
It's a natural occurrence. We're scared. As parents, as community members, we get scared. And so over the last 3 weeks, we've had a lot of these rumors, but one of the things that I've appreciated as we've been talking through these rumors is we've been talking about rumors. We haven't been talking about unsafe schools.
Absolutely.
All of our schools have been safe over the last 3 weeks. We've not had a real threat to any of our schools. We've not had any instance where a school was unsafe over the last 3 weeks. Now, I know parents may be sitting out there like, well, hasn't felt like that. And I understand that. But that is the truth. That's the facts, right? So what we've dealt with is a few instances where maybe a local kid has said something they shouldn't have said,
Right.
but a huge majority, probably 95% plus, what we've dealt with have been these regurgitation type situations, right?
We have had numerous threats that originated out of state,
Yeah.
and those travel on social media, and they're going to find their way to
Copy
us.
paste and
Copy
yeah.
paste, sometimes add their own comment. If you think about the number of high schools in the United States, the first word of the school starts with the letter C.
Right.
It's hundreds of
Right.
schools easily, and so CHS can easily sound like Conroe High School.
Right.
And so these things travel, and when they get to our community, people don't know any better.
Right.
Like, they're scared, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
It's what they do with it then.
Yeah, one of the questions we had come in, that was a wonderful question, was, what should parents do? What should they not do in these situations where they're hearing these rumored threats or they're getting this information? What should they do when they learn of something?
I think that is a fantastic question. The first thing we want our parents, our students, our community to know is there's no such thing as a joke when it comes to making threats. Anytime a person communicates in writing, by voice, through social media, that they intend to harm someone else, we're going to take that seriously, and we're going to investigate it fully, and sometimes that will result in criminal charges being filed.
Yeah.
We want our parents to know that have a conversation with your kid, explain these things to them, that no threat is going to be taken as funny. It's not a joke.
It's kind of like when you go to the airport, there's nothing funny about saying the word bomb or you know,
Absolutely.
but we have to teach our kids that,
Yeah.
right? Before you take that first trip, you say like, hey, that stuff's not funny. We don't say things like that. I think we need to be having those same conversations with our kids about school, right? These things are not funny. It's not fun. There's nothing funny about it.
No.
And when you know, if your student says or does that creates panic, creates a disruption in our school day, we're going to prosecute that. And what are the charges that may come from situations like that?
So there's a wide variety of charges that somebody could be guilty of by making a threat. Terroristic threat very well could be a felony charge. Making a false alarm or report. When you report an emergency that something is happening or is about to happen and you know that it's false, and you do that to create an emergency response or to put people in fear, you can be charged with a felony there. Anytime a student says that they have a gun, they brought a gun, or they're going to bring a gun to school, they could be guilty of threatening to exhibit a firearm, which is a misdemeanor charge, but it can get you put in juvenile detention.
Yeah, it's not a situation we want any of our students to be in. At the same time, we have to have
Absolutely.
a strong response because we can't have you all feeling like you have felt over the last 3 weeks. It just can't be. So when you see a threat or you see something posted or you hear something, the best thing you can do is report it directly to our police department or any police department so that it can be fully investigated. What we would ask that you not do is repost it on social media. That's what we've run into a lot, where we've seen things travel even throughout our district, where a certain image has shown up in one feeder zone, one high school feeder, we deal with it, and then
it's in another one.
4 days later it shows up in another feeder zone, and we've already handled it. We already know it's not true.
Right.
But someone else posts it on Facebook or Nextdoor and says, I'm worried about this, and they post it, and then it creates fear in another community.
Absolutely. And so we don't want them to repost it. We don't want them to share it. We don't want them to airdrop it to other
Right.
people. And I realize the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, people are doing it out of concern,
Absolutely.
out of care
No
for others.
doubt about it.
However, it does create a situation where we are now reinvestigating something, and we're going to put all of our resources towards it. When somebody calls and says, I have a threat, we're going to put all of our resources towards that to investigate it fully and take the action. We found in the last several weeks that we were reinvestigating so many things. And so we want to make sure that our parents know and our kids know, don't repost it. Call anonymous alerts.
Let us
or
know, right.
Text anonymous alerts. Call Kid Chat. Tell an officer, tell a principal. Share it, but share it with the right people.
Well, because one, we don't want to repost it because we don't want to create fear, especially unnecessarily.
Right.
But two, we want to get it to people that can do something about it, because if the potential is there, what if it was real?
Absolutely.
And if we are delayed waiting for somebody to send it to us from social media versus the moment someone saw it, they sent it to us, we could be that many steps ahead, right? And to
Absolutely.
ensure that we're going to be safe at school. And so that's really important. And I think everybody acts in the best of faith. It's just we get worried, and we just want our kids to be safe. We all do.
Absolutely.
And it's scary. We shouldn't have to think and talk about these things, but it is the reality of what we deal with.
Sure.
Right. And so, well, let's talk a little bit. We got a few questions here, so I'm going to run through a couple of our questions regarding safety. And one of them was, what about bond funds? Do we have any bond funds associated with safety? Yes. In the last bond, we had $35 million was set aside directly for safety. So that will go to things like secure doors, electronic locks, bullet-resistant glass in different places. There's some different things that we'll go through, and some of the challenges, cameras as well, some of the challenges with some of the things that we talk about with safety, and even this conversation that you and I have is we want to do our best to be transparent with you all. At the same time, we don't want to overshare. So there are things that we need to not overshare that would put our students or staff in danger. So we try to be a little selective sometimes with all of the measures that we have in place, because we don't need to expose that to everybody. Another question: why aren't active shooter drills performed? Well, we have drills on campuses. We do a lockdown drill, both in the fall and the spring. We don't do a full-fledged kind of theatric active shooter drill in the building, because that can oftentimes create more trauma for kids than it actually solves. The lockdown solves what we would do in that situation. You guys are doing your full active shooter training.
Absolutely.
But to bring in that idea of, acting out an active shooter could really create an emotional response for kids that we don't want. So that's the reason we don't go full out and have a fake shooter in a building. It's not something that we wanted. We're prepared,
Right.
and the students are prepared to do what they need to do, but we just don't go to that full level. Metal detectors are something that people ask about all the time, and do we have metal detectors, and can we do them? We do have metal detectors that we can deploy to campuses, and we do that upon occasion. If you ever go to any of our football stadiums, you see those in play at football games. We are actually in the process, and Chief and I work together with the team on this, is we're looking at some more of the advanced metal detectors. So if you've been to Disney World or an Astros game or a Texans game, you've seen these advanced detection, and you will see them if you go to football games over the next week or so. We have some trials coming in, and that's something that we can look at a little further along the way and see, once again, do we go to the more advanced systems and deploy them, and how often are we going to deploy them on campuses? Historically, our community has not been one that has been supportive of every child that enters a metal detector every day. It's not been the environment that our families have wanted. If that changes, that could be a board decision. There's a reality of the amount of people that it would take to make that happen.
That's true.
One of the things that I talk about is we think about going to the airport and the backups and lines of getting through security and all those things, but schools are different, because schools would be like everybody that was going to go to the airport, and that day everybody has a 7 a.m. flight.
Same time.
We're all getting there at the same time. That creates its own level, and it, once again, without getting too deep into levels of security, it doesn't solve everything.
It can create some other dangers.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to look at that. We have a safety and security committee in the district that is looking at different systems that are out there. But I do think that we will see a more advanced system at some point in Conroe ISD. I think we will see more random checks happen throughout the school district. I believe you will see that coming into the future, and it's I think all those are good things, right? That we can help. Let's see if there's any other questions here. One of the questions was about interior doors being locked. Our interior doors are locked throughout the day, but they're not always closed. But they're all locked so they can be closed quickly to be locked. Once again, all exterior doors are locked and checked. They're checked by the state as well, so no one gets into the building without that, but the teachers can close them. It becomes a really big challenge, like in elementary schools, where students are leaving often to go to the bathroom, and then if the door's locked, the teacher has to get up from where they're teaching to go let the child in. So there's some give and take. If you have concerns about that, I'd encourage you to talk to your principal. Each campus handles that differently because each building is different. So that'd be I would ask you to start with your principals in those conversations. Let's see. I think that's most of our questions with safety. Once again, I just want to highlight our schools have been safe over the last 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
It hasn't felt that way necessarily.
Right.
But it's that those are the facts. And one of our challenges as a school district, and we talk about this a lot, is how do we communicate with you in those situations? And sometimes I feel like maybe we over communicate. We never want you to feel like we're not telling you everything, so we tell you everything. And I think sometimes when we tell you everything, it makes it feel less safe. And because if we've investigated it and we know that it's not true and there's no threat, and yet we still feel like we should share with you, you may still feel like it's real, even though we're saying it's not real. And part of what I want you to know is that if we feel like it's real, we're going to tell you the truth at all times. If there's a real threat, we will tell you. If it's not, we're going to say it's not, and we mean it when we say there's no credible threat. We mean that. There's no credible threat. We would not say it if it were not true. And I know, as we've discussed, sometimes I think, create our own panic too, a little bit, because when we send out that letter and we say there's no threat, sometimes our response, just to help people feel better, is to put additional officers on that campus the next day. Because for some people that makes, okay, I feel better.
Absolutely.
But for other people, they go, well, why are you putting extra officers if you said there was no threat?
That's right.
Yeah, so then we sort of create this angst in our own doing. And so those are challenges. And I just share that with you. It's part of this YouTube Live process of being real with you, is we don't always know the right answer. I'm extremely confident in our ability to find out what's going on, to fully investigate, to make sure the school is safe, and know that we're going to be safe at school the next day. There is zero question and zero hesitancy ever about that. Where we struggle sometimes, that challenge is, how do we communicate it with you, and do we over communicate it, or what's the best way to roll that out? So we're going to continue working on that and trying to make that happen. And so well, Chief, I appreciate you being here today. I did want to ask you about your pink badge. What does that mean? And is everybody wearing those for this month? Or
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Today is October 1st. It begins Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And in the police department, officers are able to wear a pink badge for the entire month of October to raise awareness about breast cancer. And we all know someone who has been affected, or friends that have been affected by it. And so we want to raise that awareness, and it's a great way for the officers to start conversations with people in the community, and to raise that awareness.
Well, I think we both have people that we love. That badge is special.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. So thank you for being here. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Dr.
you very much. All right. So we're going to keep rolling and try to work through. I know we've been at this a while, and hopefully you've put it on fast speed if you're joining us later. But we want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to get all the information that you need about our school district. So let's talk about the budget here for just a few minutes. And you can see here our budget, that big circle graph there. Our budget is about 90% employee salary. We are a people-driven business, as you would imagine. And so it's our people that make the difference. If you look down at the bottom, you can see our tax rate, and you'll notice that our tax rate once again has lowered. Even though we had a bond election last year that we told you we might raise the tax rate by 2 cents, we actually lowered it by about 1.50 cents. So that's a great thing. Now, one of the realities of our budget this year is that we have adopted a deficit budget for the first time in our school district's history. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're actually spending more money this year than we're bringing in. And we've never been in that situation before. And well, how did we get here? Well, last year, we started the school year with a balanced budget. So our budget was balanced as we moved into the school year. But we did not give our employees a raise because our funding in the school district has not increased since 2019. So you think of all the expenses, everything that has changed in the world since 2019, we have not seen an increase in funding. Well, we can only give raises to employees when we have an increase in funding. Well, last November, our board, and we're thankful that they did this, took a little bit of a risk, went out on a limb a bit for our employees to give a raise in anticipation that perhaps our funding would increase as part of the last legislative session. So they did a raise. Well, we had money in the savings account to pay for that raise for last year, but for this year now, we did not receive any additional funding, so we are now having to dip into our savings account to fund that raise from last year. So we have a deficit budget. Well, what does that mean going forward? It means we have some challenges. As we move into December and January, we will be having discussions with our board about how will we get back to a balanced budget. So once again, we're going to need to cut $12 to $15 to $17 million from our budget for next year. As you saw in that circle graph, 90% of our budget is people. So you can't cut that kind of money without cutting people. And when you cut people, then it becomes the questions of what programs are we cutting. It's going to be really difficult conversations for our board. Our board will have a few options that they'll need to investigate. We do anticipate now our legislature goes back into session in January. Hopefully our funding will increase at some point and we'll have an opportunity to make things right. But that is a challenge that we face right now. I received quite a few questions from employees, which I think were very valid questions, like, is there going to be a raise this year? Do we have a retention stipend coming? And unfortunately, the answer that I must give you today is no. once again, we are already $11 million in the hole this year because of last year's raise and that salary carrying over to this year. So we are going to have to wait until we get additional funding to be able to give a raise. And I know there are other districts out there that have been able to do some things that we have not been able to do. One of the points I want to make, I'll ask Andrew to go back to that slide with the, yeah, there we go, with the tax rate. So our tax rate is 94 cents, a little over 94 cents. Well, there are other districts out there that have very different tax rates than ours. One example is a peer district that we compete with, is Conroe ISD. Wonderful place, wonderful school district, but their tax rate is $1.11, almost $1.12. So their tax rate is significantly higher than ours. If our tax rate matched Conroe ISD's tax rate, we would have $110 million more dollars every year to spend. Now, I'm not saying that we should match Katie's tax rate. We are in Conroe ISD in Montgomery County. We're a fiscally conservative place. That's how we've always functioned as a school district. We still compete very well with academically with all these other school districts, but there is a reality of the money situation. So while all school districts are waiting for additional funding to come from the state, some school districts are in a better place than others because of the additional funds that they generate through their tax rolls. So we are in a bit of a different situation here in Conroe ISD. By having the second lowest tax rate in the Houston area, we don't have those additional funds. So once again, I am sorry to tell our employees that there are no plans at this point. I know, and from speaking to our board, they absolutely want to give a raise to our employees, but the funds have to be there. So when money comes, I have no doubt that the board is going to be aggressive to take care of our employees. I hope that we don't reach a point where employees feel like they need to leave to go find somewhere else to work where they can get a raise, because I believe that we will get one here. It's just a matter of when does that funding come and what will it look like. But the conversations are going to get a little uncomfortable here in December and January. I just want to prepare you for that as we're moving forward, that it's going to be a little uncomfortable as we start to talk about specific programs or departments that could be impacted by these budget cuts. So that is our budget conversation. Now, I'm just going to share with you now just a little bit about our most recent bond and show you some cool pictures tonight. So if you'll remember that we passed a bond, and in Proposition A, we had some new schools. And so I'll show you a map here of where all these new schools will be. And you can see down, starting at the bottom there's 2 in the Grand Oaks feeder. There's a 7th, 8th, and 9th grade campus for Grand Oaks High School, and then a future elementary or intermediate campus there. As you move to the north of that, we have a new Campbell Elementary that will be there off of 242, serving Oak Ridge and Caney Creek. And then to the far right is a Caney Creek 9th grade campus. And then moving further north into Conroe, we have an intermediate school and a junior high. And then finally at the very top there, we have the new high school in Conroe. And then our only school on the west side of 45 there is Rob Eisler Elementary that will serve the Woodlands High School feeder. So let's look at a few pictures of these buildings as we wrap up this evening. First is Rob Eisler Elementary. It's the one we just talked about. This is a 2-story elementary. The rezoning process is currently underway for Eisler and Campbell Elementary. So this school is located up Old Conroe Road, north of 1488. I think next we will see Campbell Elementary. There it is. Once again, off of 242. This school is primary function will be to relieve Suchma Elementary. So Suchma is about 150% capacity right now, built for 950 kids, and I believe there are well over 1,400 kids. So we've got to get some relief to Suchma Elementary, and Campbell's going to help us with that. Our next new one is that 7th, 8th, and 9th grade campus in the Grand Oaks feeder. This is going to be 2 schools in 1 building. So the 7th and 8th graders will never mix with the 9th graders. Eventually, in a future bond, we will build a new junior high, and this building will turn into a pure 9th grade center, but this was just a way to make all the numbers work right now, and the building is built to be able to convert to a 9th grade center in the future. All right, our next one that we'll see is that 9th grade campus in the Caney Creek feeder. Once again, this building will open as a 9th grade campus, but there's a possibility that it could convert to a junior high at some point, and it is built to be ready to make that conversion and make that happen in the future if that's the way that we need to go. So another beautiful school. And then finally, the last one that we have to see tonight is Timber Mill High School. So this is our new high school located near Stockton Junior High. It will house about 3,800 students, and so it's going to be a beautiful campus. We'll open in 2027. We'll relieve Conroe High School, which is well over 5,400 students, I believe, today, and also probably take some students from Caney Creek High School as well. So it's going to be a great addition. It was just named, so Timber Mill High School will open in 2027. As we're wrapping up this evening, I want to say thank you once again for being a part of our live presentation and coming back later to watch it. The first 9 weeks has been wonderful. We'll wrap up this week, and then next week we'll complete that first grading period. I do want to remind you of a 4-day weekend for students coming up, as they'll have the 11th of October and the 14th of October as holidays. So hopefully maybe you have a chance to do something as a family. That was the intention as we built in a few of these 4-day weeks or 4-day weekends for the calendar, was that perhaps you can have some special moments with your families, and our employees and teachers can have that special time as well. And as you're looking to the future, I will remind you, our 2025-2026 calendar has already been approved as well. So if you want to look out and you're really planning ahead and looking to next year, our board has already approved next year's calendar, so you're able to go and already see when all the breaks will be for next year as well. Let me just check one last time. It looks like we have answered the questions tonight. So thank you once again for joining us. We appreciate you giving the time, and I hope that you're doing all the fun things with your kids, and they're involved in so many things, and you're out there spending the special time with them. Take advantage of it. Speaking to you as an empty nester guy myself now, the moments are precious, and they go by really fast. So always take that time to really invest in your kids, invest in your family, and have those magical moments with them. We appreciate you letting us be a part of your life and play a role in educating your children and serving this community. We wish you all the best. Have a good night.